Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra Tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and today I'm going to be covering how you as an educator can use Discord voice chat for your students and your classroom. Because one of the things that Discord allows you to do is have a miniature forum where you can post things like homework, your lecture notes, whatever you need to share so people can see it, and also a place where students can upload and share their homework back with you while everyone's currently at home and quarantined. Now, the nice thing is the people over at Discord are fully supportive of this endeavor, so they've actually created a lovely template that you can see here on their website that gets you things like class schedule, lecture notes, homework submission, and all of that, with some pre-set up permissions so that if you're not super adept at technological things or you're just not familiar with Discord, they've got a lovely template set up ready for you to use from this blog post. You can just click this link here and that'll get you started. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how all of this stuff works today so that you can see it, use it, and then go on to teaching your class. So the first thing you should probably do is go to discordapp.com. I'll put all of these links in the video description so you don't have to like type along with me. And you'll want to download Discord for Windows or for Mac, whichever platform you prefer. It works on both. It also works on Linux and in the web browser itself. It's just easier to do it through the desktop version as opposed to the browser. And what we'll do then is we will register a new account. So let's just say my email is larry.chupacabra@outlook.com. My username will be Professor Chupacabra. And then we'll just set some sort of generic password, one of my many. Alright, once you've got your account created and you've got your username and everything figured out, and you've hit enter, and the desktop version loads up, what you'll be greeted by is a screen that looks a lot like this. This is just a list of people on your contacts list that you can communicate with directly, regardless of if you're on the same server together. And then a Nitro tab, which is all of the premium features for Discord, if you want to pay for it. You don't really need to. Everything you want to do on Discord is 100% free, especially for things like teaching. So by default, you can look for a server to join through the server directory if you had like a favorite game or something, because this is originally for gaming. But you can also create a server from scratch if you're more familiar with this. If you're one of those cool teachers that already knows how to game, this might be something you want to do. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go over to the Discord guide here, and there's a little thing that says just click here to breeze through the setup. It'll automatically set up a little pre-organized server for you. Then we can close this. It should open up in here in a second. Continue to Discord. And here it'll tell us, oh, here's a pre-set up Discord. You can just click a couple buttons to determine what's in it. It comes with some pre-made channels I'll go over and some pre-made class groups that you can assign to different usernames as you go along. So let's just start by naming this server. Let's just call this Cryptid 101, and I'll hit enter, and I'll hit create server. And here, the only person on here automatically connected to the voice channel, the first voice channel, is me. Easy reference, if there's a hashtag, that's a text-only channel. If there is a little sound icon, like a volume control icon, that is a voice channel where people can log in and then they can talk to one another. You can control who can talk in what channel, and you can control who can see what channel, so you don't have everyone from the marketing class talking to everybody in the music class, getting everyone distracted while they should be paying attention to a class lecture. So one thing I recommend doing almost right off the bat is let's just create a new channel. Let's just call this Classroom Rules, because even though you probably handed out rules and expectations at the start of the school year, it's a good idea to reiterate it, because when kids go on a platform that they normally used to gaming on, they can sometimes forget that this is a place for learning and not a place for goofing around with friends, posting memes, and like saying a little bit racy, risky jokes. So let's just drag that to the top, and we'll make this the most important channel, and let's double check the permissions. So by default, on the @everyone role, a good way to think about permissions is these are tags you give people that give them the ability to do certain things in certain rooms and places on your server. And you have complete control over this because you're the owner. And we want everyone to be able to read messages in this channel, but we don't want them to be able to send it. So it's kind of like a bulletin board. People can see, but they can't touch. And then we'll just double check that everyone can see it. Sometimes the permissions get borked when Discord pre-generates things for you. I'm just going to disconnect from the voice channel until we need it. And inside this channel, let me just make sure this stuck. It did. I'm going to post the rules. So let's just say like something like, howdy class. This will be Mr. Chupacabra, because that's my username. You can put Mr. Benson, Mrs. Johansson, Mrs. Melindy, whatever you want up in here. Whoops. I got a little ahead of myself. Let's edit that. So these are just some basic rules that I think you'll find in pretty much any community on the internet, unless it's like a weird, nasty one that you just don't want to touch with a 20-foot pole. I would recommend posting all of your classroom rules again so people have the expectation of what they can, you know, encounter here. That way, if you ever have to discipline anyone, kick them from a channel, or delete something that they've posted because it's inappropriate and against the rules, you can refer them to this channel and the rule that they broke so that you don't have to keep messing around with each individual student, reiterating it a half a dozen times. So that just makes sure that these rules are always here where everyone can see them and no one can pretend that they didn't when they first entered the server. Office hours, this is, I'm assuming, another channel where you want people to be able to read it but not send messages, which it looks like all of these are pretty well set up. This is where you can say, like, I'm available from, you know, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Something like that. If you have specific office hours that you want people to communicate with you only after class, where they send you a direct message, then you could also put that here. Class schedule, the same thing. Let's double check that those permissions are set up so that everybody can view this channel, but they can't necessarily post in it. Sounds good. By default, Discord has set this so that .everyone, or the @everyone tag, the default tag, can't see anything, because I'm assuming they want it set up so that anyone who joins the server has to be given a tag before they can see anything. But I think the rules channel, you could leave it so that everybody can see it, because if some random Yahoo jumps in here, well, they'll just be able to see how to behave like a reasonable adult. Homework submission. This one, let's double check. This should be able for everyone to submit messages in the homework submission area and also attach files, because you want people to be able to attach their documents, like their Word files, so that you can view them later. Same with this. Let's say send messages and attach files. Send messages, attach files. And then teacher's aides, yes, attach files, send messages. I don't know why you wouldn't want your teacher's aide to be able to help submit things to this channel, but for whatever reason, you know, just make sure. Alright, so once all that's done, we're good with the homework submissions channel. Basically what you can do with homework submissions is you can click on this plus, and then people can find whatever document they want to share. Like, let's say they made a new document. Let's call this, frog dissection chart. Billy Quizboy, or whatever. And then this person can select that and upload it, and with the added note of like, hey, I'm turning this in a little early. Family wanted to eat dinner now. Hope that's okay, or whatever someone would post. And then we can upload that. And then you could download this for each particular assignment. I might recommend that you tell people to like post in their message, like say this is for the frog dissection, or like the math quiz 102. That way, if you need to find this later and you can't find it downloaded onto your computer, you can go up to the search feature and you can search this keyword and all of people's submissions will appear. That way you can at least jump back in time to that time and see if they turned it in on time. And just so that people can't pretend that they turned it in on time, all of these are handy-dandy time-stamped in your time zone when it was submitted and when it was posted. You can hover that over and see it at any time. So let's go down to homework questions. Let's double check what those permissions are. People should be able to read these, because I feel like if one person asks a question, everyone else should be able to see the answer. And then people should also be able to send messages here. Actually, no. Let's not do that for this. Let's say nobody in the @everyone department, but everyone should be able to read them and send messages that is actually in one of your classes. Just double check that now before I work something up. And we'll say yes, save those changes. So that'll be the homework question and answer section. Down here we have the different classes. These should be locked off so that only people in the appropriate class can post in here. So this is the marketing department. So that's 305, they can read messages. What about music? They cannot read messages. That should be fine. Let's just say like the everyone people can't even send messages here. Like they can't do anything here. This just doesn't exist to them. Music people can't see it. Marketing people can. This assumes that if they can see it, they can also send messages. All right, so these are pretty much set up correctly. And if you wanted to set up a new channel, what you would say is, this is Science 101. And let's create this text channel. We could even set it to private. And this is an easy way, once you've set up a role, to just toggle only this class can see it. And then you can say create. Now this is already set up and ready to go. I'm going to actually delete this so I can better illustrate that in a moment. Lectures should be similarly set up. I only want people in the correct class to be able to hop in here and do stuff. So the Marketing 305 should be able to view the channel, should be able to connect to the channel. I'm going to let them speak if they want, but here's a little pro tip. If you have students that have a little bit of an issue with their microphone always having noise from their house, you can disable automatic voice detection, so they have to press a button when they want to speak to you. This is great so that you don't hear screaming siblings, you don't hear dogs barking, parents yelling, lawnmower noises, whatever. You can control that with the use voice activity setting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of that so that you know which each of those permissions do, so you can set up your own channels in a moment here. Let's check out this channel. It should only be the Management 303, and they should be able to connect and speak. That is set up mostly correct. Let's go to Music 202. Permissions, Music 202. They should be able to view it, connect it, speak in it. If you don't want people to speak, or you don't want certain students to speak because they're being disruptive and being a pain in your butt, you can always right-click them when they appear in these channels and mute them or deafen them if they're being disruptive to your class. You have complete control over what anyone sees, hears, or does hear. Isn't that just wonderful? What you've always wanted, magic powers to control the classroom. And then office hours, this will be your private channel to communicate with students. I would actually not let people into this. Like, everyone should be able to view it, but I would say you cannot connect to it until I am gosh darned ready for you. That way you don't get a bunch of students all piled into one room screaming at you. So what that means is they have to jump into one of these other channels, and then you click and drag them in with you. We'll show you how that works too. Study groups. Yeah, that would be fine. We'll just leave these as whatever. I'm gonna retool these. And this is just a private channel which only you and your teacher's assistant should be able to view. So no one can read messages except you and your teacher's aide. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. So let's just get into the nitty-gritty. Let's hop into this scary, terrifying server settings tab. So this is where you can control everything that goes on in your classroom. What is an AFK channel? When somebody is not at their computer doing anything for a while, it'll detect that and you can dump them into a channel of inactive people, so you're not trying to talk to a student that is not actually there. This might actually be really useful to set up, so let's go ahead and do that. So under, let's just put the AFK channel down at the bottom here. So let's just right click anywhere, create a new category, and let's just say miscellaneous. And let's go OK. Now, by default, this will be seen by pretty much everybody, but that's not about to manage, or about to matter. So let's just say this is the AFK channel. Let's make sure it's a voice channel, or else it won't really work. This is just for people connected to voice channels. Otherwise, you might get a little confused, because text doesn't necessarily need you to be logged in. And we'll say, like, away from keyboard. And we'll just say create channel. And then this, I don't want to be seen by anybody, just anybody, so nobody's going to view this, just anybody's going to view this channel. And then let's go through and set it up for every last one of our groups. They can view this channel. They cannot speak in this channel, because I don't want people like getting put here and then thinking they can be clever and then just hang out here. That's not going to work. They're not allowed to speak here. And then let's create another for the management, or min 303. View channel. They're not allowed to speak. Teacher's aid. This will go for everybody. That way, if anybody is away from their keyboard for too long, including Professor Chupacabra. Actually, let's remove this one. We don't even need this. We just need the professor tag. And then this will be, we can definitely view this channel. We can't really deny ourselves that permission, but it's good to set them up and be consistent. And then we'll go back to the server settings. And we'll specify that the AFK channel is the AFK channel. And if people aren't around for like 15 minutes, I'm going to say they get automatically put there. If you decide that in the middle of your lecture you want to have like people get a chance to get up and go get a break, use the restroom, they might be gone for a little while, you can up it to 30 minutes or an hour. I just like 15 minutes personally. System messages are things like when people join the server or leave the server. I don't really use this. You can. It'll just be like a landing page. You have all of the who joined and whatever in your audit log, so you don't really need to make this public. And we'll just say, yeah, that's fine. Roles are all of the controls over the basic behavior of each one of your tags. So the first thing I would recommend is going to the everyone tag, finding the mention everyone thing, and make sure that's turned off. Because what this allows people to do is go at everyone, and every person in the server will get a notification to their desktop. It's super annoying. Don't let people do that. Same here. Don't let people do that here or here. And don't let people mention this thing by name. So up here somewhere, right here, allow people to mention this role. If someone pings at that class, again, everyone in that class will get a notification. You don't want that. So let's say you're going to start a new class, right? You want to make a whole new role. Let's say this new role is science at 307. That's the 307 science class. Let's make science blue, because that's just in my mind, science is blue. And we'll save changes. And this one, we'll display this separately in the sidebar. That way everybody who's a part of this class is in their own little unit. You can tell them apart. Nobody's going to mention this role. They shouldn't be able to be an admin or a manage the server or any of this stuff, really. And we definitely don't want to allow them to change their nicknames. We got manage nicknames, all that stuff. They should be allowed to send some messages by default. I don't want text-to-speech messages because that can be spammy. They're definitely not allowed to manage and delete messages. And you can set people to embed links at your own discretion. What this means is when they embed like a link that goes to someplace with an image, it'll automatically grab the top, biggest, most prominent image and display it in the chat. If you don't want that to happen, you can just disable that. Same with allowing people to attach files, read message history, etc., etc. These will all be their default behaviors. But for the most part, a lot of this you should just control on a channel-by-channel basis. For right now, you just want this to be the name. Down here, you can set up server-specific emojis. Again, this is more of like a gamer thing, so you may or may not want to use that. You could allow people to vote on tests and things by doing this. Or you can go submit a message and be like, stuff and things, and then people can react to this with an emoji that are available in this long, sorted list. Again, that can be kind of spammy, so I tend to just not when I don't need to. So we're just going to go ahead and delete that message. Let's go back and explain the rest of these. You've got the moderation. So this is moderation. So what is the moderation settings? This controls who has the ability to do what on your server. This is less important for you because you're going to want to invite people individually once everything is set up. I'll show you how to do that with server invites. What this just says is, this is low. People must have a verified email verified to their Discord account. And then they can start posting and doing stuff. If you had a public server, you could set it up so that people can't participate in the server unless they've been here for a minimum of 10 minutes and they've done stuff. It's just to prevent people from jumping into your server, doing some racist stuff, spamming a bunch, and being annoying. I recommend only doing individual invites to the server so that way you can control who actually is allowed here. The audit log, anything that happens here on the server gets logged in this long list. Deleted messages, deleted items, categories, changes, it's all detailed here. And you can see when it happened and where it happened. This is useful for moderation in case someone does something and you need to ban them, kick them, mute them, whatever. Integrations, this is not really something you need to worry about. This is like hooked up YouTube accounts, Twitch accounts, Steam accounts. Webhooks, this is something you post on a website and people can jump into the website. And then widgets, if you want to use widgets on your website. Boosted server status, this is just stuff if people pay and boost the server because they like it. This doesn't really pertain much to teachers, but you can read it here if you want. And then user management, members list, this is an ongoing list of all the members on your server. What roles they have, you can assign them here. You can also assign roles right here in the sidebar by going to roles and clicking on which ones apply. Like, let's say that you have a specific teacher's aide for a specific class. It might be smart to give them both roles. That way, anyone can hover over them and see this is the teacher's aide for class 202. That sort of thing. You can also exit or X out on the hover over after you click on someone's name to remove roles just as easily. So, going along further in the server settings, you've also got the invites. This is where you can create invites and manage invites for people to join the server. I recommend only creating a few of these for students and then making sure that they are only available for a certain amount of time and then they expire. And then anyone you've had to kick or ban from the server will appear in this list. And for whatever reason, when you're done with it, you can delete the server by retyping the name of the server right here and delete the server forever. Only the owner can do that, and that's me. So let's just get started kind of fine-tuning this and inviting people to our server. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably invite myself on my other account, and that'll be an easy way to illustrate some things. Let's go up to server settings and let's go to invite people. So what they do is they create a short link that anyone can click on and they can join the server by default. So I can copy this and I can send it to myself and it expires after 1 day. This is an invite code that you could send to your students in an email and then see them start to pop in. You can also set this link to never expire, or if you click on this little gear, you can set it to expire after 1 day, never, 12 hours, maybe a day or longer. You can actually just set it to never expire and manually delete it yourself later. And you can also set the maximum number of users that can use this button before it automatically expires. You can also set it to grant temporary membership so they can see something and then they're automatically removed later. This would be a good example if you have parents that are very curious about how you have everything set up. They can click on this, or you can click on this, generate a link, they can come in, see something for a few hours, then they're automatically ejected from the server, so you don't have to worry about manually doing it later. Although, for the most part, if someone needs to do that, they can just look over their teenager's shoulder or their kid's shoulder and see that. So I can generate this new link, copy, and I can send that out into an email. But what I'm going to do instead is once I clear out my notifications on my phone, I can actually just join a new server automatically by just posting in the end of this invite code, EHDND, and then HW. Alright, I have now joined Cryptid 101. At least it should have joined Cryptid 101. And the only thing my user can see right now is the classroom rules page. So you might have noticed something when I was in that other channel down here in the teacher's assistant discussion channel. I can't see that account that just joined. That's because anyone who has access to this channel, when you click on it, you'll be able to see them in this sidebar. If they don't have access, you won't see them. Easy way to know if somebody's looking at something or not. I guess I need to also verify my alternate email. I'll do that in a minute or two. So this is Larry Chupacabra, but this is obviously a gamer username. So let's go ahead and right-click this, change nickname. This will allow me to say this is like Larry such and such. And you can save that, and now this is stuck this way on this server. They will always appear as so-and-so. If I were to message this person and go to their, like, message them, say, like, hey, Larry, question for you. Now I can always right-click this and go to profile, and I can see what mutual servers they are on, and it'll also say what their name is, because if you have a lot of students and you're trying to communicate with all of them, you might not remember who's who. You can always go to profile, mutual servers, and see that this person on your server is called Larry such and such. It's a very easy way to tell who's doing what, where, and when. So now that I've joined the server, let's start adding some classes that I can join in. So let's go ahead and, like, I want to say you're starting out a new class because you're still adding some stuff to the server. So let's go ahead and go into server settings, go into roles, and then let's create a new role. So let's say I'm going to be a part of the tech class. Let's say Tech 101, Mr. Albert. And then that'll just be like a orange color. We'll save the changes. We really don't need to give them any specific permissions yet. It'll just inherit whatever is default, and then I'll assign that to myself. I'm in Mr. Albert's class, Tech with Mr. Albert, and then I'm also in Music with Mrs. Johansson. And then whichever one's the more prominent in the list, the higher on the list is the color that they will be. You can change that by going to server settings, roles, and dragging this one up higher in the list, if that's important to you. So now my name is orange because that's the more prominent of the two roles. Now what I can do is I can give myself access to any channel that has something to do with the tech class. So let's say classes, let's add a new one. Let's create a Tech 101 with Mr. Albert. And you might want to keep these a little bit concise and short, otherwise it might get a little confusing. And the permissions on this will be, nobody by default is going to be able to see this, because it's in a category, this category, which has some built-in permissions itself, or by default, nobody can read text channels or see voice channels until I give them permission. So you can then add each individual class from here and say, like, okay, people with the new permission, since it's not appearing, I gotta add it with this little plus here under sync. Don't hit sync, that'll cause this channel to be default server permissions. Don't hit the sync button, just do these individually. It'll sync this with the class's subs category. You don't want that. So we'll say that people who have Tech with Mr. Albert can see this channel. They can send messages in this channel, and we'll save. Now they can do that. They can see Tech 101 with Mr. Albert. And if I jump over here, and I get on my phone real fast, I can hop into Tech 101 with Mr. Albert, and I can say, "Hi everyone, it's me, Larry." And then now you can see that picture pop up with my message. Now let's say you don't want this to be here. Let's say this is the wrong class, you can delete that and go elsewhere. You can hover over this and click on the More option. You can delete this. You can mark this message as unread so you can come back later, like an email. You can quote this in your own message, or you can pin this message. If you pin this message, it'll show up here under Pinned Messages. You can also right-click this person if this person shouldn't be on the server at all. This person somehow wandered in off the street. You can ban them with this button, or you can kick them so they'd have to get another invite to rejoin later. You can also block this person so you can't see their messages. You can add them as a friend so you can easily send them messages even if they're not in the server. You can change their nickname, add a note to their profile so you know who they are. So let's say like, good student, sometimes forgets to do X, Y, or Z. And then I can save that for later. Or I can send them a direct message by just clicking on their name here. Or right-clicking it and saying message. Or if you want to get their attention publicly, you can mention them. It'll at that person's name, or you can simply type at Larry. And then you can type them a message, and then that will ping them, and they'll receive a notification that you need to do X, Y, or Z. Likewise, if we jump into, say, the Music 202 channel, and I have my alter ego jump in there as well, this person can start talking immediately unless I do something. Like, I can set up a permission where they can't talk automatically, but right now, they're allowed to speak because there's no muted icon on their username. I can right-click them, and I can say, okay, I can't have you talking right now. I can server mute you so that nobody can hear them speaking, not even other students. Or if they're not supposed to hear anything in this class because there's a private meeting going on, you can also deafen them so they can't hear anything either. And now their icons will say they are server muted and server deafened, which means they can't, excuse me, they can't hear or see anything going on in the channel. You can now disable those two different features. This mute button right here is a local mute. You will not be able to hear them, but everyone else can. It's easier not to deal with that. If you need to turn up their volume, you can do that here, in case they have a very weak microphone. And you can also call them directly. You can edit their notes. Same things you can elsewhere, they're just over here. You can also disconnect them from the channel. You can force kick them out of the voice channel with you, because you control the server. You can also adjust this, or you can move them to a different channel if they're in the wrong place. Similarly, because they're in the wrong place, you can also click and drag them into other locations where they might actually have to be. And if you've locked off your office hours channel, like you're in here waiting and you don't want students to get in here, you can go in here, edit the channel to say, nobody is allowed to connect to here. I believe I already set that up. So now when people jump in here, they can send you a message, hey, Mr. Chupacabra, I need to talk to you. Then you can drag them in and be like, hey, what's up? I know we had an appointment. What do you need help with? And then later you can kick them off. That sort of thing. Although for some reason my phone auto-disconnected. I'm not entirely certain why. And I also have caused myself to have a significant number of notifications on my phone. So that's some of the basics on there. We can also go through and add... whoops, I don't want to change that thing's location. I want to uncollapse this. I can also create a new lecture channel for Tech class, Tech 101, with Mr. Albert. In fact, I created that incorrectly. This is supposed to be a voice channel, so let's just go ahead and delete that and remake it. Delete. Let's create a new channel. Voice channel this time. We're going to make it private to only the Tech 101 class. And we'll call this Tech space 101 with Mr. Albert. And you can actually put uppercase and lowercase in the name of voice channels. Don't ask me why they're different, they just are. So that's available to the Tech 101 people, the teacher's aide, and the professor, and only those people by default will see them. And now you don't actually have to tab in here and then go to permissions and change them all yourself. Now, you might notice that the office hours channel has this weird little number on it that's right over here. That means that there's a limit of 2 people allowed in the channel, and only people with admin powers on your server can go beyond 2 people. That is editable right down here. There's a user limit. You can say, you can have 38, you can have 1, you can have 6, you can have 2. Similarly, a lot of these channels have a bit rate. There's an optimal 64 kilobits per second bitrate for voice. If you go above that, people have lag problems talking to you, and if you go too below that, the quality of voice gets really diminished, so just be careful of that. I think that about covers most things. I suppose the next thing you'll want to do is know how you can stream to your audience of up to 50 students at a time with the Go Live feature. So when you connect to a voice channel like I've got right now, you can at any time click on the Go Live button. What this is going to allow you to do is stream any program or window that's currently up on your computer, and then you can share that with your audience, if you so choose. I have a bunch of rigmarole up here right now, but you can kind of get a gist of it. So let's say I want to show them what I'm working on in, say, I don't know, a slideshow program. Let's open one up and show them what that looks like. Okay, so let's showcase that now. Let's go to Go Live, and instead of showcasing a slideshow, but you could pretty much grab any program that's currently got a window open on your computer, we're going to go to a web browser that involves a documentary about nature in Thailand, and we're going to stream this to let's not go in the office hours channel. Let's jump into an actual class channel. And we're going to stream this to our students. And we're streaming, we can set a title of this if we'd like, but we're just going to leave it at whatever the tab is called. And then we can go live. This will actually start streaming our video to our students in a classroom that they can all hop into by hovering this over and double-clicking this user to watch. That'll open up a big streaming window, kind of like Skype, if you're familiar with Skype, and you can see what's going on my screen. In this window, you have a few options. You can stream settings, you can up the frame rate to 30 frames per second, you can up the quality to 720. My internet's kind of bad, so I'm going to leave it down a little bit. You can invite students who should be watching this to come watch it by name, or you can just @ them in the channel and say, we're starting the class, everyone get in here. And then we can see how many people are in here because they have to jump into the channel and they'll have a little eye icon next to their image so you can tell who's actually paying attention to your lesson. So let me just hop in here. It'll also show here on the sidebar that there's this little computer icon to indicate that somebody's streaming. So this is supposed to be in the... Oh, this is in the wrong channel. I don't have access to that. Let me just give myself permissions really quick. Classroom rules. Let's find my good self. Let's add us to management 303. This is a situation where if you don't see a student that should be there, and you do roll call, you should just check to make sure they have the correct permission. Now I can hop into this channel, I can connect to voice, and I can join the stream, and then once it connects, it should show a little eyeball next to my icon. Unfortunately, again, I have a slow internet, so this might just break, but you should be able to see how many people are viewing. Okay, it'll show it over here, not necessarily over here. So it'll show who's spectating one person, and you can actually see the list of students as you hover over it, who's here. And then they can watch this, You can share like a notepad of your notes as you talk, you can type it out. You can also, show a slideshow, show images, Google stuff as you go. Your choice, you're an adult, I'm sure you know what you want to do there. And this can also pop out or become full screen depending on how you're comfortable managing things. And at any time, you can click on this button here and you can just say stop streaming. So that's kind of the basic rundown of all of the different things here in Discord that you need to be worried about. There's definitely a lot more of the nitty-gritty that we can get into. I'll probably split that into the next video where I talk about server roles and stuff for 2020, because I need to do an updated version of that anyway. But the permissions are kind of basic, self-explanatory as necessary. This is just a basic so you can get people into the server, invited in here, give them roles, and start teaching them different things. So I hope you found this helpful. I've been your host, Larry. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, if you've got those questions, throw those down in the comment section below. I'm always happy to help. Depending on who's asking me, I can even help certain teachers to set up their servers and run them through things as necessary, because I know this is a lot of stuff kind of thrown at you all at once. You're expected to just kind of pick up and learn. So I'm always happy to come and help with the more in-depth and nitty-gritty. I'm going to try and cover all of that in a tutorial series specifically for teachers and parents as best as I can. So that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you do some basic controls and streaming to share stuff with your students. Feel free to jump in and join like other communities on Discord that are public, like different games that you yourself might be interested in playing, so that you can learn how to use it, learn what it does, and learn what the powers are that you have inside of it. So that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you later. Have a good one, everybody. And toodaloo.